What's up, nerds? You'll never guess where I found this guy. Go ahead, guess. Yep, on the side of the road while walking my dogs the other day. It's an IBM ThinkCentre 8085-B1U. It's a XP machine that was released in 2003, thereabouts, right before IBM dumped their home computing division onto Lenovo. This is kind of like their last stand. And I got it home, I fired it up, and it was working uh, for a while. And I guess it hasn't been used in quite a bit. I was looking over the file history and things like that because why would you want to password protect your computer or anything like that? But it hadn't been used in probably 10 years. And as I left the computer on, I noticed it would randomly just reboot like it is now or totally shutting off. All signs to me point to a bad power supply, like a bad capacitor going in there. But anyway, this was their, I think, their A50 line of Think Centers that were released in 2003. This one has a Celeron, as you can see here, a Celeron D, which means, yeah, it was the bottom of the barrel. But anyway, we're going to try and maybe revive this. I'd like to keep this one as original as I can. I don't want to do it like a sleeper build where you put this nice high end motherboard in there. This one has a nice, IBM branded motherboard. Oh, look, there, it's finally booted up. I even made like a little wallpaper for it. So it'll die in a little bit anyway. But getting back to this. Um, I love IBM branded stuff. I don't really know why. I guess it's because they were just such a juggernaut in the computing business throughout the 20th century. And for them just to give up in the home PC market is kind of baffling. So IBM branded stuff is pretty cool to find. I do have the matching keyboard and mouse somewhere in my pile of junk that I will try and find. But for right now, I'm just using a Dell USB mouse and keyboard. Even though this is up and running for right now, I know it's going to die on me anyway. Also, some of the other models had a 3.5 floppy drive. I might see if I have one laying around. We can get in there, and they were really cool because they were black faceplate, but they had like a weird color blue button. Oh, there it goes, dead. And see what we can do to try and get this up to like the higher specs. I don't know if it'll let me swap out the processor. I know I have a whole bunch of Pentium 4 processors from around that time. Forgot the exact like socket or slot number, socket number it would be. I'll probably just shoot it right here in post. And I really don't even know the specs on the motherboard. It's hard to find information on these things. I do know like the ones that had the Pentium 4, the motherboards had an AGP graphics slot. This one does not. It just has like three PCIs. It's basic, run of the mill. Like I said, I'd like to keep it all stock in there. And I just love the look of this thing. I mean, this was in the era between the beige boxes and of like, the 80s and the early 90s, and then just the plain black boxes of like the later aughts and forward. I think Packard Bell and HP started coming out with like the weird kind of tombstone shaped computers and curvy looking ones. And then Apple came out with the iMac and stuff and, blew that out the water with all that translucent blue stuff. And IBM in this decision just made the most brutal looking industrial computer. I mean, it's got this nice slanted front. The top, I mean, it's a trick of the camera at the angle, the way it's kind of angled back, but the top, the back, and all the sides are all straight. It's just the very front is kicked back. And I'll show you in a second, the drives and everything are actually angle mounted backwards too. So it's a true, angle mount. It just looks like you're about to get hit in the face with a computer. Like, out of my way, bitch. This thing's coming through to give you a subpar computing experience. Because face it, if it's got Celeron on it, it was probably your grandparents' computer or your school computers or whatever, or you're just starting out computer if you're a kid. But I hope to change that. I mean, God knows I got enough junk lying around of older computers I've scrapped over the years. We can make this into something, well, halfway decent, but I just think it still looks badass. So let's see what we got going on inside. I really like this design because it has this little quick access button. Just pop it open, and voila. You can see all the dust, dirt, and grime over the past 23 years. Get this a little bit closer here. You can see just the three PCI slots. They did have a place on the motherboard for the AGP, but they just decided not to put one, populate that. It's your processor, a nice, decent heatsink on it. Like I said before, too, all the CD-ROM optical drives are angled back this way. Still has the original hard drive in it. Here's the power supply. It's one of these little small form factor 200-watt jobs. So yeah, those are always, a joy to try and replace because they're not the standard size, ATX. And I was reading where like I don't think the pin configuration, it's way back in there somewhere. Like the pin configuration isn't like standard ATX. I'll have to get in there and take everything out and see when we remove this and take a look at it. Like I said, the random powering off and stuff like that, that's really indicative of a bad power supply. The board looks like it's really good shape, although, you just can't look at a capacitor and see, other than they're bulging or leaking, they could still be bad and look beautiful. I did replace the CR2032 in there. I got to see how much memory you have. I didn't even bother to check, when I booted it up. And allow me to go on a little tangent here about being able to boot up computers really easily. Look, if you insist on keeping all of your banking information, resumes, credit card stuff, things like that, tax documents on your computer, at least put some kind of password protection on it. I mean, it's a good thing I found it and I'm decently honest. Well, I try to be honest sometimes, but whatever. I'm not going to steal information from somebody's computer. But, just think fire it up and you could go right into their spreadsheets with all these, account numbers, social security numbers. And look, you're just asking for somebody to, harvest that information. And, it's just dumb. If you insist on keeping that on your computer, lock it down with something. Or, if you do throw out your computer, take that hard drive out, put a couple of drill bits, just drill out a couple of holes through it or do something. Because if somebody, dishonest finds it and harvests your information and, cleans you out, you really got nobody to blame but yourself for, not protecting yourself. That being said, yeah, I don't have one on my computers either, but then again, I don't have any banking or financial information or anything. You'll find, all my ripped DVDs and ripped CDs and, all kinds of just goofy keyboard programs, but, you won't find a shred of banking evidence on mine or, social security numbers, or I don't think I even keep a resume online or on my computer anywhere. I'm old school. I have it still typed up, saved away in like a file somewhere, and I can just give it straight to my employers. If, when I was looking for a job recently, I think I just scanned it to a PDF and sent it over. So you don't even have that. But yeah, just be careful when you throw out computers. At least take the hard drive out or something like that. You're asking for trouble. But anyway, let's dig a little deeper into this guy. Aside from all the lackluster features, on the motherboard itself, well, you can tell this is pretty much Melee's era PCs from the mid-aughts. PS2 mouse and keyboard, two USB, which I'm probably USB 1, maybe 2 if you're lucky, serial, VGA, parallel ports, two more USBs, a NIC card, well, just a network port, which was probably 10100 at the most, an onboard sound, which is probably just the Intel chipset, which is not going to be that great. You've got, well, 4 expansion bays there, but realistically only 3 carts. No, you got this little guy down here too. All right. I forgot the name of it. It'll pop up right here. Anyway, oh, that's actually jumpered out for something. So that's not a card slot. I thought that would be, one of those little PCIEs or something like that. But it's not. It's just, see the jumpers down there. That's for something. I guess I'll try and hunt down, do a little bit better search. I did a preliminary search on this motherboard and couldn't really find anything. It is IBM branded. You'd think they'd have the specs online, but no, kind of hard to find. Very hard to find. I found minimal information. Did I say I couldn't find much on this? Yeah, I can't find much on this. Anyway, we're going to clean this guy out and take out all the drives and see what's happening. I know I did test these out when it was running, and they both recognize CDs. They're both just CD-ROM, just straight up read-only. They're not rewritable. They're not burners. They're not DVD drives. It's, like I said, this computer was the bottom of the barrel. It was for grandparents who wanted to get on the World Wide Web at the time, and maybe new students or kids if you want to get your kid a computer, but you're not buying them an IBM. You're going for e-machines or something like that. So the older crowd, they would go for the IBM name because they would recognize that and say, oh, it's quality. But yeah, looking at this, I mean, I guess it is, but this is right before they dumped it all on Lenovo. They took it over and did whatever they do. So yep, so we got IBM branded motherboard. I don't know what kind of brand CD-ROMs these are, or the hard drive. So we're going to take this apart. Give me an excuse to clean out all these little dead bugs and whatnot and dust bunnies and who knows. But let's get to taking this guy apart and cleaning it up. I just found this out trying to take the front end off. IBM really did have their shit together when it came to ease of access. The little button back here. See that blue button right there? Well, anyway, all you have to do is press that in. Bam. That front comes right off. That was pretty sweet. Like spring-loaded almost. Easiest front I ever got off. So that's kind of cool. Anyway, let's get back to this thing. The more I take this thing apart, the more I fall in love with it. I mean, check out how easy it is to get to the hard drive. You see little tabs? Bam. That's it. And this, I guess it's a little caddy tray, just kind of lifts off. Well, I said that, but now it's going to be a pain in the ass. But yeah, I think you just squeeze these maybe. It comes out. Oh, I'll find out when I can see a little bit. Oh yeah, that's it. You just pinch the ends and they come out. Just detach your cables. Hope the CD drives come out just as easy. Watch this thing come apart really nice, and then the power supply, the piece I really need to get to, that's going to just be a bastard to get to, I bet. Anyway, maybe it'll prove me wrong. Probably not. All the drives came out relatively easily, and when I was pulling out the IDE cables, I noticed this. This is a SATA power connector. And sure enough, on the motherboard, it was obscured before, but I got SATA data connectors here. So this is that like maybe 5-year time period where motherboards came with both options. That's pretty cool. Still wish I had an AGP video slot. But the hard drive is a 40 gig Hitachi Desk Star, not Death Star as I keep wanting to say. 40 gig, and manufactured for Lenovo. And it has a date code of 15th of June 2005, and that's kind of when the sale went through. So I wonder if this whole thing was just made by Lenovo and just they put IBM branding on it until the ink was dry on their contract and just swapped the names, on the motherboards and the computers to Lenovo. So this may be just a Lenovo computer with IBM, badge engineer on it. It's still pretty cool though. The CD drives, well, I knew the top one, I knew one of them was a plain CD-ROM, but the bottom one is actually a light-on CD-RW drive, although it didn't appear that, the Windows hardware configuration screen. I was kind of wondering why you would have two just plain old CD read-only drives, but there you go. You got a rewrite drive. Those came out nice. And aside from all the dirt and dust and dead bugs, still got to get that out, but here's what we're going after. All the power cables are I got to unhook this one here.
Well, this is the point in the project where it kind of went not off the rails, but yeah, there was a lot of troubleshooting and swapping. I'm going to save you guys about 20 minutes of video. I decided just to cut all that out and put in a nice cutscene of Benny Hill-esque fast forwarding. But needless to say, it was not the power supply. I swapped it out with two known working ones. It gave me the same issues. I then proceeded to swap the memory. I used 3 different sets of memory in this thing. I tried different PCI cards that I knew worked, different combinations of those, different drives, CD-ROM, DVD-ROM, different hard drives, both SATA and IDE. And I even swapped out the processor with a spare one that I had gotten. So, yeah, I could not get this thing to stabilize. It would either not boot up, and when it did, it would either freeze up or reboot randomly. So that left me with I guess the only logical conclusion that it was actually the motherboard that was screwing up. That was, kind of explain the error that I had where the CD would not read the right type going in. While everything was going on, I was also trying to figure out how to put a floppy drive in here. I wanted it to kind of max this thing out. And the floppy drives that came with this computer, well, the upgraded versions, they were black with a blue eject button at IBM Blue. And I didn't have any of those. And they're not easy to find on eBay or anything, or they're cost prohibitive. So my solution, because I only had this plain white one, was to spray paint it. So anyway, we'll get back on track with this.
And here is where we are. Let me show you the drives. They came out really nice. You just used some, I think it was satin black for the faceplates, and I used a Krylon blue, which is this one right here. It's the gloss blue hyacinth. It's their fusion, so it'll work good on plastics. Now, I used to love Krylon up until about 15 years ago or so. They started messing with the formulas, and it would dry really strange. Like sometimes it would dry well, and sometimes it would just stay tacky forever. And regardless of humidity, or even if I used the same surface, it would, there was just no consistency in the formula. So with this guy, I just used very light dusting coats on the buttons, and they seem to be holding up very well. I mean, I'm just, yeah, rare. It's not going to be used every day. I'm not going to scratch this or anything. It's not going to be high use, so it should last. This is just, I guess, the Rust-Oleum. They're like 2-in-1 primer and whatever they have now. That's like for all plastics, metal, wood. It's like they're all surfaces. That works out really good, well too. This still says Sony, but if you hold it in the light, yeah, look at that. Can't see it. Squint a little bit. It's IBM. Now, they didn't offer this with a blue button when they put these in there. It was just all black with a black button. But, what the hell? Keep up with the theme of the thing. And you can see, let me get this out the way. This is the blue plastic I was talking about. And if you hold the cap up to it, it's pretty much a dead-on match. So, yeah, Krylon Gloss Blue Hyacinth. They did not have this at Home Depot or Lowe's. I actually stumbled on this at like an Ace Hardware or Do It Best Hardware. I think it used to be Ace. They changed it to Do It Best. So it's not a very common color, but it does exist. So if you need to spray paint any kind of older IBM hardware in that color blue, that's a choice for you. Here is the problem child. Well, I'm hoping it's the problem child. Nothing has worked on it consistently. And I have a new one coming in. I scored one on eBay. It's actually the newer revision of this with an AGP slot. Although I don't have any AGP video cards, I still have the PCI ones. But it still has support for the floppy IDEs, the ATX, the 20-pin. It's exactly the same. You still have SATA support right there. Everything's the same. I'll be able to use my memory, processor, all the cards. So when that gets in, you know, we'll see what happens. In the meantime, this is going to go to the e-cycle or trash or wherever it lands. I mean, it's not worth keeping and losing, pulling my hair out over. So although there's not much of that left anyway, so out it goes. Now, because that motherboard, let me put this back here, because it has support for all this other stuff, I have a bunch of other peripherals and things. Did I say peripherals? Peripherals. You got accessories. You know what I mean. It's early in the morning. I can't speak, and my coffee hasn't kicked in. So what I'm gonna do is maybe put some pieces in here that were never intended to go in this model, or if they did, they weren't very common. So this Windows XP might be getting upgrades and downgrades. Ooh, there's a teaser. So let's when this guy comes in, we'll see what happens. And in the meantime, I'll get working on some of those accessories and other things that are going to go in here. So thanks for sticking out this far. Hopefully we won't be too much longer. I removed the product key sticker off the side so I could give it a fresh coat of paint. And I didn't really look at it before, but if you look at it closely, under the Windows XP Home Edition, it says Lenovo. So yeah, this is made by Lenovo, just with, I guess, whatever IBM branded parts they had lying around. So there you go. And I'm not bothered blurring out this product key. If you want a Windows XP Home Edition product key, knock yourself out. There you go. I'm going to upgrade the power supply. I mean, upgrade in the sense that it's better than the one that's in there. I mean, this really isn't anything high performance or special. It came out of another computer that I cannibalized for parts. It says it has 550 watts. It's probably way overrated, but it's still more than the 200 or so that's in there now. It's got all the connectors I need, both IDE and SATA power connectors. So if it'll fit, it'll be perfect. If not, we'll go back to the old one. Here are the removable media drives I'll be installing. This is the floppy drive, 1.44 meg, 3.25. Totally not a Sony, and it's painted in the IBM scheme. This is a Zip 250 disc. I have a Zip 100, which stands for 100 megabytes on a disk. This can hold 250 megabytes. It's backwards compatible. I got this on eBay. A seller had to buy it now. It popped up because I had a search going, and I bought it now for like $15. He says it's working, so I got it. First thing I did was paint the cover because it was white and it would not match. So I just popped the cover off, painted it, put it back on. This eject button is also an LED indicator, so I couldn't paint that. So, yeah, I haven't tested it out. Don't know if it works or not yet, but I'll get there. This is the DVD rewriter drive. It's a H&L, which is a Hitachi LG collaboration, I guess. I don't know if they're the same company or under the same parent umbrella, but that's what you get. This is the one I painted, and also the IBM blue eject button. And this, the final piece of the puzzle, it is an unbranded 5.25-inch floppy drive. Now, this one, I've had it in other computers. I know it works fine. It runs the old, IBM formatted floppies. I just, painted this part black, took the little lockdown lever, painted it IBM blue, and bam, look at that. Perfect color match. The upgraded motherboard, hopefully, I got my fingers crossed because the old one supported a floppy drive in the BIOS. We'll see if the new one does. Hopefully it does. If not, I have this cool looking floppy drive to go into another computer that will not match the color scheme. And yes, that is a miniature working trebuchet. Why do you ask? Would you look at this mess? The good news is the new to me motherboard works, and the BIOS and everything detects it as a totally different model number computer. This is technically now an IBM 8187, as opposed to an IBM 80, I think 35 or something like that. 8085. I am so sorry. Had to look on the back there real quick. Um, the bad news is it does not have support for the 5 1/4 drive. It will see it, it'll power it up, but it sees it as a 3.5 inch drive, and there's no way to get around it. It's something in the BIOS. I tried every configuration of cable, tried to look for jumper settings. It ain't happening. So while I have an older motherboard that I know for a fact can recognize both the 3.5 and a 5 1/4, I kind of want to keep this as much IBM as possible. I mean, I have older computers that can, access the 5 1/4 floppy drive. I just thought it would be really cool to have that in there, but I've changed so much on this, and I'd rather have the more powerful IBM motherboard and everything that went along with it and trick this guy out than have to, actually downgrade from what I found just to have the 5 1/4. So I have to hunt around and find something else to use in that slot. But here's what we have working right now, as you can see right here. We have the 3.5 inch drive that works. The Zip 250 works like a champ. I tried both the 250 disc and the 100 disc. The DVD rewrite drive works just fine. I made some changes on the cards. I'm no longer using the EMU. That's kind of an overkill. And I found this Sound Blaster Live, which works perfectly and flawlessly. And I'd rather save the EMU for a better rig, I guess. If I'm doing a more, sound or audio production computer, maybe save it for that. I mean, I can always swap it out with this one. It's no big deal. But Sound Blaster Live, I don't have to have those pigtails with the outputs on it. That's kind of a hassle. This works just fine. This is a GeForce FX 5200 PCI card. It took a little finagling to get it to work. Had to disable the onboard video in BIOS and in Windows, but it works now. And the 1 GB, I guess, network card, 101000 network card, that was originally going to be in here, and it is, and it's working fine. I just have to hook up my Ethernet cable to it. So I have it all out. I wanted to test it, make sure it all worked before I started assembling everything, because the old power supply was about an inch shorter. So maybe having the floppy drive, the 5 1/4, not be recognized as a blessing in disguise, because I think it might have kind of encroached on this little gap right here a little bit more than I was comfortable with. So we can start, populating this, put everything back together. I think I've got a 300 gig SATA drive, hard drive with Windows XP Service Pack 3 loaded in. So we're good to go. That's the reason. I mean, I didn't even have to install any drivers from the CDs. It just picked them all up. So that's pretty good. Anyway, and then some obvious cable management needs to happen, but it's working. And yeah, if I can put it all back in and it stays working, I'm going to call this a win. If not, it's getting thrown out the window. So we're going to see what happens. Well, it's been running like this for over 24 hours. Let me show you what I did to get to this stage. I had to make some adjustments. The most, I guess, obvious one is you don't see the network card under here. I had to make room because I needed to put a fan on the heatsink of the video card. You see, I originally had the video card in slot 1, sound card in slot 2, and the network card in slot 3. What happened was the video card was generating so much heat from the heatsink, it was radiating onto the sound card and shutting it down. Like Windows couldn't even find it. So I had a little, fan that I pulled off another heatsink and attached it to this one. Now it's so wide and these slots are so close together that it's not allowing any more room for anything else. I put this on the bottom because I didn't want it to blast, warm air onto the sound card again. So I have about a 1/2 inch gap here. It's kind of hard to see because it's dark in there, but there's about a 1/2 inch gap. I have it wired up to the case fan that I had to put in here. And that's a noisy sucker because it's blowing a ton of air out. I mean, it is about as stealthy as a farm tractor, but it's doing the job. Uh, Speaking of wires, you'll notice all this mess. I have this as tucked away as I can. This power supply came out of one of these big like server cases that has like 9 or 10 bays, and I had a ton of wires, and I wasn't using it anymore, but I needed the power supply. It fit my needs, and we just worked around the cable situation. We got it really, kind of off of the heat sinks of the processor and out the way of the airflow. I mean, yeah, it's dead on right now, but it beats, having a whole mess just right here. We tucked it underneath, kind of got some little sticky backs, as we call them, as I call them, for the zip ties. Everything else seems to be working good. As far as what else we put in this, I dropped in one of these 3.5-inch bay uh, compact flat like multi-card readers. It was USB, and it had the internal USB connector. Unfortunately, this board has one, and or number one, it's not standard pinout. It kind of is, but not really. And number two, it didn't work. That's one of the risks about buying a used motherboard. It was powering these. There's two USB slots in the front down there somewhere. It's hard to see, but I think they're somewhere down here along the side. But they don't work anymore. I have it tucked away. What I did was kind of cheat. I cut a USB cable, ran it through the back, like spliced them together right there, and it's just plugged into one of the slots. And now I can, instead of just reading like, 5.25 floppy and the rest of these, I now can read, almost all the different types of video, data cards and things like that. So that's kind of a good trade-off. This will actually get used more like compact flash and SD cards and things like that than I will ever use a 5.25-inch floppy. That was just pretty much for novelty. But there's the floppy drive right there, 3.25. I think E is the zip 250. We've got a 300 gig hard drive right there, and we're good to go. So this is all done. I'm going to put the side panel on it, and I'm going to load up a couple of games, like a couple of not high intensity graphic games, because PCI, you're bottlenecked at the PCI slot. An AGP would have been a lot better, but I did not have an AGP. I had PCI, so we're going to go with that, and we'll see what we can run on this thing. But so far, it works. It's noisy, but it works good. Works a lot better than the version of this I found on the side of the road. So, huzzah. Just for the hell of it, I got the old motherboard and everything back together to do a benchmark test. I found some software that ran on XP, PC Mark, version 05 or whatever, 2005, whatever it is. Anyway, got to run. Here are the specs. I have no idea what these mean, obviously. PC Mark score. Okay. CPU score. That's good. I don't know. It's out of what? They don't really say. I didn't do any research on this, but what I'm going to do is run the same program on the new computer to see how they compare. I ran a benchmark test on the new computer as well, and the scores, well, they're significantly higher. I still don't know what they mean or what the rating is for them, but hey, it's better than the old one. That's all that matters.
Curiosity got the better part of me, and I guess I owe you guys an explanation too about what these scores mean. So I went and kind of looked it up and kind of had this chart made that details, what's going on. The blue is the older system and the orange is the newer system. According to this chart, this pretty much says that the old system was a low-end, low-tier Windows XP system. The way PC Mark ranks this, it goes from 0 to 5,000 is your range of scores. And you can see the overall PC Mark score. It's, it gets to be almost a little above average on the new computer, but well below average on the old one. And then they rank the CPU score as really decent on the new one and some meh on the old one. Memory about the same. Now the graphics for both are really in the gutter because you're using, well, the second one is using PCI, a video card. The first one, it's using the onboard graphics, which according to this chart, there's really not that much difference. I mean, when you're that low in the gutter, it's negligible actually. So that's what really drags it down. If I had an AGP card, maybe we'll upgrade it eventually, it would probably bump the score up higher, the overall score. Now the HDD, the hard drive, those are really high up because for Windows XP, a 300 gig SATA drive was something back in the early days of XP. That would have been big money, but I found that in the trash nowadays. So take that for what you will. But the hard drive scores are really high, so that's what it is. Overall, we went from a low tier, bottom of the barrel XP system to a mid tier, decent XP system. So there you go.
I decided to load up a game just to see if I could, and what better example than GTA Vice City. Now it's locked into the low resolution, like 640 by 480, because of this PCI card. It's not great. If I had the AGP, it'd be a little bit better. But you know what? It runs smooth. I mean, it's not the most graphically intense, but back in 2000, I don't think it really was. I think we got spoiled now. So this may have been really good back in around 2002, 2003. When it came out. Everything looks nice, and like I said, it's not jittery or anything like that. I haven't played this in a super long time, so I'm still getting used to the controls. And I used to know where everything was, on the map of this game, and yeah, not anymore. I used to know all like the little cheat codes to give you all the weapons and everything, and all the cool little cars. Oh, sorry, Hooker is probably on the way to church too. That's a shame. Anyway, yeah, it's go around and just do Grand Theft Auto things, which I don't think I can do because YouTube might see it and censor me. But driving around's not a big deal, or just I'm jogging for fun, doing get my cardio workout, doing air punches. So yeah, Grand Theft Auto is running pretty good. Hey, guess what I found? The IBM keyboard and matching mouse. This is a really cool little guy right here. It's got shortcut or hotkeys that you can program. I had the program somewhere originally that you can assign these, to different programs and all. You got media control players and everything. And there's that IBM blue. So it kind of ties it all in. That's going to stick out like a fat kid in dodgeball with that red scroll wheel. I wish it was blue, but oh well. I'll just, it is what it is. So yeah, we have our matching keyboard and mouse to go with our computer. And as long as I'm, upgrading computer, let's see. Let's get rid of this guy here. I don't know how good I can scrape this off. Come on. It's not going to want to come off without a fight. Oh, no. They really want you to be proud of your Celeron stick processor, I guess. Come on. Yeah, this isn't coming off without a fight. Oh, there you go. And let's see what I have on my stack of stickers. There you go. Pentium 4 hyper-threading, because now it does that. Boom. Kind of, my OCD will come out because this isn't lined up perfectly straight. It's kind of on an angle. So I kind of matched this one to be with that one. So now, huzzah. We have a Pentium 4 hyper-threading computer. Awesome. And with that, I think this video is done. I mean, we took a side of the road found computer and literally upgraded everything but the case. I was going to call this computer the monolith, but now it's more like the computer of Theseus, because everything but this case is different. But I love this case. It's so easy to access the drives and take apart. it's great. And I wanted to keep everything as stock IBM, like the motherboard and different peripherals that you could have gotten back in the day. I mean, the CD, DVD, ROM, and the floppy drive. And, they may or may not have offered the zip drive as a option. Who knows? We'll pretend they did. This multi-card reader, maybe not so. I don't know. But who knows? It's got them now. That's important. And as always, I want to thank you guys for sticking it out, watching these videos, and just, commenting and liking them and doing whatever you guys do. Until next time, you guys take it easy.